What's up, Monday morning nerds? It's your boy, the OGGM, broadcasting live from Site B here in sunny Southern California at 9 o'clock on this Monday morning, the 16th day of January 2023, the day Wizards of the Coast exploded. 16 days into the year, we've already crashed an entire role-playing game server and got on CNBC News. So yay us. And here I thought this was going to be a boring year where we just made fun of Wizards of the Coast making dumb mistakes. But nope. It's Monday, which means it's time to take a look at the tabletop role-playing game news, and hopefully there's something going on in the world that doesn't involve OGL 2.0 Wizards of the Coast. Nope. Oh, hey, Gen Con's coming up in August. Badges have gone on sale starting the end of this month. A 4-day pass for Gen Con will be $135, while single-day passes will be $70 or $85 on Saturday and $17 if you want to show up at the last minute on Sunday. If you just want to go for trade day, it's $234, and adventure and other stuff will be related. Of course, they'll still be doing the digital Gen Con. I don't know if they'll be doing the Gen Con pop-ups again like they did 2 years ago. They did the Gen Con pop-up things, and then they didn't. So, but I heard that the Gen Con pop-ups were kind of popular, so maybe they'll do it again. Mephidius has launched a world builder of their own for community content over at their site. So if you want to take part of the upcoming 2D20 world builders, it's available at the Modifius site, which I link all the time. There is a new adventure path coming out from Paizo for Pathfinder 2.0 called the Gatewalker's Player's Guide. So I guess this might be them taking on the whole Planescape thing before Wizards of the Coast does it at the end of this year and ruins Planescape. So if you want to see Paizo's Pathfinder 2.0 take on Gatewalkers, that's up live now on the Paizo site as we begin to see, speaking of Paizo, how the whole open role-playing contract that they're working on comes to pass, what the SRD will come to look like, whether it will use D20 Pathfinder 2.0 or a completely different set of rules. Of course, it's not even 48 hours into Paizo announcing this, and already Paizo is getting shot at before they're political and because they went woke, and the kumbaya spirit of the OGL OSR over the past 2 weeks obviously didn't last too long because we're already taking shots at Paizo. I'm excited to see what Paizo has planned for Orc. I'm tentative, of course, if they add a morality clause about inclusiveness, because that is just a slippery slope. It's not a surprise to me that the second our outrage over Wizards of the Coast came to a momentary pause. We turned our outrage to something else because, of course, we have to have the game the way we think it needs to be. You know what? That's exactly what Wizards of the Coast is counting on, but we'll get into that in just a second. Keys to the Golden Vault, the next Dungeons and Dragons 5e adventure, has taken pre-orders. It's up live on Amazon. So if you want to pick up the Keys to the Golden Vault, which is a series of one-shot adventures all built around the theme of heist themes, but in D&D. As we know, Paizo announced the Open RPG in response to the OGL 2.0 nonsense. Now, when it was first announced, everybody was, what is Paizo going to do? What is Matt Mercer going to do? Paizo waited almost an entire week before they announced what they were going to do. Matt Mercer and company still haven't said. They released a very innocuous, generically, we are stand by our friends post, but nobody really knows what it means. In counterpoint, within 24 hours of the OGL 2.0 nonsense becoming aware of, Troll Lord Games started pounding stuff out, releasing free stuff, saying, "Look, we're working on it. The Sage, the Siege engine system that we use for Castle of Crusades is now pretty much ours. There are a few things we'll need to change, and hey, let's not forget a lot of 5e Wizards of the Coast stole from us." So it is nice. It is interesting to know that within the first 24 hours, Troll Lords was, pushing change, and it took Paizo almost a week. Okay, well, I guess there's nothing else to talk about, so let's go to the number one story of 2023, the OGL crisis. But first, let's take a look at Steve for a sec. Hi, Steve. You enjoying your new toy? Did you get a new couch? Steve got a new couch. Okay. Where are we now with the OGL 2.0 nonsense? If you're not familiar with what's going on, this all began about 2.5 weeks ago when a leak of the proposed OGL 1.1 became available. The first people to call on it was Gizmodo, followed by Polyhedra and EN World and Tanker and Level Up to 3 and me. I was one of the first, and DM Bloodworth and Pundit. So there was this leak. Nobody knows where the leak came from, but it was pages of the new OGL. Why? What's up with the OGL? Well, I mean, we were expecting a new SRD for 6E because they have said it is officially said it's 6th edition. It's now, even though they're still calling it 1D&D. And despite all the claims that it's going to be backwards compatible, anybody who's looked at the first 3 knows that it's not. So we were expecting a new SRD, and then they had been talking about releasing a new OGL for a while, like 2 years. Like 2 years ago, they said they were going to change it. And then we got this leak. Nobody knows where the leak came from. It wasn't complete, but oh boy, was it just a step in the pool of fascism and draconian thinking for what Wizards of the Coast wanted. I'm getting bored of the OGL stuff now. That's exactly what Wizards of the Coast is counting on, that we will get bored of it. We will forget it. We will start arguing about something else, and then they will just slide the new one under the door when we're not looking and pass it and go, "Oh, we're sorry if it upset you, and now you can't do your Dungeons and Dragons cosplay or write your own D&D stuff anymore, but, we gave you a chance." So yes, that exactly what Wizards of the Coast is counting on, is for us to get bored of it. All right, so we had the leak. The industry responded negatively. I'm only aware of 2 or 3 people who said they thought it was a good idea and were behind it. Then there was a letter that supposedly came from somebody inside Wizards of the Coast that laid out the thinking of the design team in Wizards of the Coast behind OGL 1.1, and the fact that, they are trying to take everything digital. Big surprise. They told you they were trying to take everything digital 2 years ago, and that they were focused more on merchandising and monetizing D&D. Again, should not come as any surprise, since that's something they announced 2 years ago, the beginning of the year, and again when Cynthia Williams took over as CEO, and again in the start of December when they said we think D&D is under their monetized. It's not making us enough money. We need D&D to make more money. We need D&D to make more money. Our bottom line is we need more money from D&D. This might have something to do with the fact that Wizards of the Coast lost, Hasbro $60 million in 2022. Stock had dropped to a abysmal 40%. And Hasbro was selling off and restructuring multiple aspects of Wizards of the Coast in preparation for 2024 and the 50th anniversary of D&D and the brand new 6th edition rules that we don't need and nobody asked for. So yeah, the wording of the AGL gave us a surprise. Then there was this letter. Then there was an announcement they were going to do a live stream to address our issues with OGL 1.0, 1.1. And that was supposed to be last Thursday on the Wizards of the Coast D&D Beyond site. Now, before that, there was a mass exodus, a mass call out from multiple creators to tell people to cancel their D&D Beyond subscription. Why? Well, because the email said, which I talked about last year and 2 years ago, they base most of their numbers on D&D Beyond subscriptions and D&D Beyond money. How much money people are putting into D&D Beyond every month, how many subscriptions do they have, how many paid subscriptions do they have, which tier is getting the most money, how many, paid for digital downloads of new books. All their 90% of their numbers come from D&D Beyond. Why? Well, because they have instant access to those numbers, as opposed to waiting to the end of the quarter to get the numbers from Diamond and Alliance and Gamma and the various trades and Target and Amazon and stuff like that. So that can take a while to figure out how much money D&D out in the wilderness is making them. But to find out how much money D&D Beyond is making them, all they have to do is look at the other computer. So yeah, they were basing the bottom line on D&D Beyond money. So there was a mass exodus. Boycott D&D Beyond, boycott the movie, boycott the TV show, cancel your D&D Beyond account. And hundreds, 36,000, I think is the number, maybe more. Hundreds and hundreds of people were canceling, including Gini D, Nerd Immersion, and Level Up 5, Level Up 5e, EXP to 3rd level. So a lot of the big names were canceling. Still, we were all hoping to hear from Mercer, and we didn't. But yeah, we canceled so many accounts that we crashed D&D Beyond, not once, not twice, but 3 times. So many times we crashed it that they had to go into the D&D Beyond program and remove the cancel my subscription option. So the only way you can cancel your D&D Beyond account was to go to a separate website and then backdoor your way into D&D Beyond in order to cancel it. You could not directly cancel it. Whoa, that's on the level, guys. So they canceled their talk, and actually they canceled the talk twice. I don't know if anybody's heard this, but actually they had two conversations, 2 things in the can, one of which, of course, featured Jeremy Crawford coming out and talking about the OGL and the situation. But because we crashed D&D Beyond, they canceled those. Wizards of the Coast stock plummeted. Then we had several individuals the night before that receive a contract. Showed up in their email boxes like 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was a contract with a lot of bizarre, immature wording, but it was a legally binding contract that they wanted people to sign for OGL 2.0. And if you haven't heard all the reasons why we're upset about OGL 2.0, there are numerous webs out there that have gone into it and are still going into it. So, if you're tired of listening to me talk about it, there are people far smarter than me that have talked about it. We made it into the news. We were on CNBC. We were on Microsoft News. So obviously the industry took notice of the entire role-playing game population of the world going, hey, Wizards of the Coast, this is a no-no. On Friday, who predicted they would release it on Friday? On Friday, they posted a apology letter. And as predicted, the apology letter was filled with lies, misdirection, smoke and mirrors, and blame passing. Why do we know this? Because a second release of OGL 1.1 was somehow leaked, made available, sent to certain people, and it showed exactly how what they were actually thinking contradicted what the letter said. And just general knowledge and general understanding of how the industry works and how Wizards of the Coast was thinking, you could just go through that letter and see that they were basically talking shit, which is what standard song and dance. Not a surprise. So that came out. That leaves us to the weekend, which it rained a lot. More outrage, more fist running, Wizards of the Coast remaining pretty much quiet. Then we got an announcement from Critical Role. And the announcement was very innocuous, very generic, very much, we're not going to say anything, but we're going to apply stuff. And a lot of people got upset. They were like, I expected more from you. Gini D, she came out because she knew it was going to affect her numbers. Was it, Critical Role? What's this kind of, milk toast? But then when you took a moment to think about and understood the situation Critical Role was in, then people were like, okay, I get it. You got to remember that a lot of them are still under contract. Critical Role on a whole is under contract still with D&D Beyond and Wizards of the Coast. Matt Mercer has his independent contracts with D&D Beyond. Each of the staff of Critical Role, Taliesin, Laura, Marissa, Kent, Travis, Bill, I don't know their names, Steve, all have contracts with D&D Beyond, with Wizards of the Coast, with various video games that are either directly or indirectly connected to Hasbro. So they're all tied up in multiple legal mumbo jumbo and NDAs and stuff like that. So they couldn't just come out and directly say, this is what we're going to do. They released a very milquetoast response that towed the line without actually nodding to anybody. But if you read it again, and some people have taken the letter apart and put it back together and looked at it with, impartial eyes, people who understand, the art of letter writing and stuff like that. Again, people far smarter than me. The letter seems to imply certain things. And the implication of the Critical Role letter from Mercer and Company was, as soon as we can, we're going to let you know what we're thinking. And it suggests what they're thinking is they're going to cut the umbilical cord to Wizards of the Coast and go off and make their own game, which makes total sense. Or jump on the ORC Peso bandwagon. There is no reason that I can think of from an industry point of view for them not to cut the ties to Hasbro as soon as they can. What can Hasbro offer them that they can't get on their own once they have 100% control of the Critical Role IP, which is the dream. If you create something that is yours and throw it out there and have another company back you, your dream is to eventually buy out the contract or have the contract reach its end and not re-sign, so that you can make whatever it is self-sufficient, because then you have complete control over the IP. And for Critical Role, that's huge. So the only two things Wizards of the Coast could offer them to sweeten the deal, other than just millions of dollars, but I mean, they've already making millions of dollars from the Amazon deal and the publishing deal from their own publishing companies, and donations, of course, from their various fans, would be a merchandising deal, a syndication deal, and a backdoor future publications deal. So the merchandising deal would have to be 80-20, 70-30, 60-40. I mean, it wouldn't be 50-50. Hasbro would, offer them a deal where at the beginning, the money would tilt more towards Hasbro getting a percentage of the merchandising and Critical Role, but then there would be bargaining. But you'd want to have complete control of the imaging of the action figures and the merchandising. But if they stuck with Hasbro, they would have to acquiesce some of the percentage. More importantly, syndication. People who don't understand the industry have commented on me in the syndication statement and how it doesn't really affect them. and it's not really a thing anymore. But I assure you, having worked in Hollywood directly for 16 years and indirectly still having connections to the industry, the big money of a series is in syndication. But Critical Role doesn't have a series. Well, you could technically count the YouTube as a series, the Twitch as a series, and it could technically be put into infinite rotation, much like any other production, because once that production is in the can, you could, have it just be in constant rotation on YouTube. You could even, sublet it to a TV program, which Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, has 2 huge TV deals currently in place. They have the 30 million plus deal with Netflix for Power Rangers and Transformers. And then they have, I don't know how much it is. I heard at least 8 million, but it's probably more. So let's say at least 10 million deal with Paramount to do the D&D 8-episode TV show and to do more new stuff. So there's the channel. There's the syndication, is Paramount. So if they make the deal with Paramount to syndicate everything that Wizards of the Coast has done, other than the Amazon stuff, then that's where it would be. Is the back door would be through Paramount into the channels that Paramount has, market share in, and then they just convert the YouTube into a half an hour TV show, and it plays forever on channel 6 in Wyoming, and that's money in the bank every month for Mercer and Company. So that and the action figures would be the only thing that Hasbro could offer Critical Role to make them stay. I don't think they're gonna. There's absolutely no reason for them to, that I can think of, other than the 2 that I said. And I think Amazon can offer them a sweeter deal for syndication and merchandising than Hasbro can. Which brings us to today. So today we have rumors that people have seen the new OGL 2.0 and it's awful. It contradicts everything that they said on Friday in their open letter. We have rumors that there were 2 talks recorded, both featuring, of course, Crawford coming out and making his usual. We have the letter that was on D&D Beyond that was horribly written. In fact, several professionals and several attorneys have gone through a letter that was on D&D Beyond on Friday and found it just awful. It is rating a C-D+ in the art of politics and industry, and just how obvious the many mistakes and the outright lies in it. One of the biggest outright lies is Wizards of the Coast, without actually taking the blame for the leaks, claimed that anybody who might have received that leak on, what was it, Thursday? It was a draft. So they put it out there to see people's opinions. What did you think of this contract? Except nowhere on the contract does it say this is a draft. And it had at the end of the contract the section where you sign away your life to OGL 2.0. Now, if it was a draft, it would have said this is a draft. And 2, there would not be any reason to put a place for the signature. But it was notarized, and nowhere did it say it's a draft, and it had a place to be signed. There were some other ones other obvious lies in the thing that they put up on Friday regarding merchandising, regarding the whole morality thing. And, that's one of the other 2 big things that comes down to is the inclusiveness clause. This is what people are afraid of with Wizards. This is what people are afraid of with Paizo. Who's dinging me so much? I guess I'm popular today. And now I forgot what I was saying. DM Toolbooks. Well, it's Monday, so I'm doing what I'm always doing, DM Toolbooks. I'm going over the tabletop role-playing news for the beginning of the week. And then, of course, the only news is OGL 2.0. Oh my God, it's Venger. Wow, I am honored to have Venger Satanis in my DMs. Will Wizards of the Coast recover? That's the question. So somebody asked me, was I going to keep my WOTC Hasbro stock? It is up $26. So I would make a bonus if I sold it now. But having the Wizards of the Coast Hasbro stock allows me to get the insider information that I share with you guys. So I'm still thinking I'll keep it for now until I something amazing comes along that I think like investing in. But really, if I'm going to invest in anything else, it'll be land. People have asked me, am I going to keep my affiliation with Fantasy Grounds? Because apparently Fantasy Grounds has said that they were going to bend a knee and sign the OGL. I don't know if you've noticed, but I ended my affiliation with Fantasy Grounds a while back because I now am affiliated with Kuso Coffee. Link down below if you want to buy some Kuso coffee. Use my link, get 25% off. It's amazing. I mean, they convinced me to stop drinking soda. That's how amazing their coffee is. All right. Will Wizards of the Coast survive? Venger, at this point, Wizards of the Coast is pretty much the Jack in Jack in a Box. It's a figurehead. It's a name. Most of the staff is pay-per-use. A lot of the main individuals that were in charge, of course, have been replaced with these Microsoft individuals. Multiple departments were shut down or restructured in the process to take D&D from analog to digital. So at this point, Wizards of the Coast is, and especially after the Magic the Gathering debacle, there's not much that you could say is still Wizards of the Coast. Especially when you look at the calendar for projects they have, what they said they wanted to invest in, what they expect most of their revenue to come from, and then where they want to be in 2027. It says Hasbro, June 2027, D&D 6X. So I do not think Wizards of the Coast will recover from this. Obviously people will still play D&D and people will still probably sign up for 6th edition, and they're counting on people re-signing with D&D Beyond once this whole thing gets over. They're counting on some, Daniel Kwan finding something offensive in Keys to the Golden Vault, so him and Connie and the others can raise up a flag and get all uppity because of racist fish. And then they're counting on the rest of us to get mad at those people for being mad about the racist fish thing. And then they will just slide 2.0 under the door while we're paying attention to something else and fighting amongst ourselves over whether the Wizards of the Coast Peso thing is any better. And, what blue-haired person said what this week. That said, will it recover? No, probably not. Even though the stock is up right now, the general feeling among the shareholders, again, inside knowledge, which I probably would get in trouble for, is not good. We made it to CNBC where people are like, yeah, every day I'm seeing article after article and from places you wouldn't normally see people referencing us talking about how Wizards of the Coast has lost all the goodwill. Add to that, we've already seen that Hasbro is selling off chunks to other companies. All right, the video game department, gone. They're looking for a new one. Board games, gone. They sold that section off to another company. The third-party stuff that Renaissance is doing, 4 of the major Hasbro licenses not being done by Wizards of the Coast. Is being done by Renegade Press. G.I. Joe, Transformers, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, all being created and tended to and monitored by a completely separate company that has absolutely no connection to Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast doesn't own Renegade. Renegade's their own thing. So that's digital video gone. That's board games gone. And that's the 4 major IPs that aren't D&D gone. Now look at the list of things Hasbro said they expect to make them the most money and that they're investing the most money in from 2023 to 2027. I don't know what that time span means, but at the beginning of last year, they said our number one investment / number one thing we expect to make us the most money is Peppa Pig. Our number 2 thing that we expect us to make the most money and we're investing the most energy in is digital, the video games, the new video games, the D&D Beyond stuff. The third thing we are investing our most money in and expecting to make us the most money is Nerf and Play-Doh. The fourth thing we're investing our most energy in and expecting us to make the most money, Power Rangers, Transformers, My Little Pony. And the fifth and final thing we're investing money in and expecting us to make money is Wizards of the Coast. So they expect Peppa Pig to make them more money from 2023 to 2027 than they do D&D. D&D on the list is the thing that they're investing the least amount of money into, and they're expecting the least amount of money back. So they knew ahead of time that this could go wrong, that the writing was on the wall. We don't have any new information, GM Toolbox, on 2.0. We have a leak. Roll for Combat, Nerd Immersion, both went over the leak, but because of legality, they couldn't go into it more than they could. The leak does seem to be genuine, and it contradicts pretty much everything that they said in the little glad-handed apology that they made on Friday. So yeah, no, I don't think Wizards of the Coast will recover unless we forget, which is what they're counting on. Unless, Genie D says, oh, I changed my mind, sign up with D&D Beyond. Unless D&D Beyond offers all the people who were actually, influencers a good deal to come back. If Wizards of the Coast can change this course of destruction, then they will recover. And, but if we keep on them, if we keep, reminding people, this is what Wizards of the Coast truly thinks of you. This is what Wizards of the Coast wants, But OGGM, you defend that all the time. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't defend it. I just say it's logical. It's what of course, it's what they're going to do. Yeah. They want to waste us out. They're going to distract us with whatever controversy Golden Key generates. I haven't heard anything. Well, I've heard some negative about Dragonlance, but so far it hasn't really, other than the whole racist fish thing, hasn't really hit the presses the way, But if they're, somebody will take offense in Golden Key and whatever's next, and they're counting on, almost to the point where you start to think maybe they actually encourage these people. I posted this theory a while back, and people said it was stupid. Max on Friday posted it again on, Legion of Myth, how Wizards of the Coast has a history over the past 2 or 3 years, put out a product. The product receives a ton of negative attention. They apologize. They bring the product back. They re-release it through Beetle and Grimm. Here's the new special edition. Pay us another $112. And then they don't say anything about that product ever again. As far as they are press release, that product no longer exists. Strixhaven receives a ton of negative press. They apologize. They back it up. They release a new special edition with Beatles and Grimm and on D&D Beyond, and then they don't say jack about Strixhaven ever again because they're waiting for us to forget. So they're going to do the same cycle that they've done since D&D 3.0. We made a mistake. We're sorry. We'll fix the mistake. We're going to charge you again for the mistake, and then we're never going to mention it again, hoping that you will forget the mistake. So this is what they're counting on. They're counting on people to buy their D&D Beyond again. They're counting on to offer sweetheart deals to Genie D and those people, so they'll go, okay, I'll come back. And then they're just counting on us to just, let them have a pass because we'll be angry about something else. And then 2.0 will come in. And then a year from now, people will be going, oh, I can't make stuff anymore. Oh, I can't do my Drizzt cosplay. Oh, I can't release my game unless I sign this contract, sign away the ownership of my product, and give Wizards of the Coast 20%. And I'll go, I told you. They said they were going to do this 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, obviously, they can never reach the numbers they reached during the Roni because that was just a perfect storm. So yeah, they're counting on people to forget. They're counting on people to forget, and then they'll just do what they always do. But if we can keep, the pressure on, if you can keep this level of notoriety up, well, I'm calling Crawford will be gone by the end of this year. Hasbro's already fishing around to sell off Wizards of the Coast. Between the Magic debacle and this, I'm sure they're going, look, we don't need Wizards of the Coast. We literally do not need you. You don't make anything we can't make. So digital's gone. Board game's gone. Our big money IP's gone. All you have left is D&D and Magic. Oh, you messed up, Magic. All you have is D&D. You messed that up. What do we need you for? Plus, you're a publicity nightmare. Every day we're seeing somebody complain about orcs are racist. So, yeah, I think June. Who was that? Oh, well, that was me. I called it out. And people said, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about, OGGM. They would never do that. Even before 1D&D, I was saying they're going to go digital. And people are like, nah, they wouldn't do that. You're crazy. And I was like, no. They literally said they're going to do that. It's not hyperbole. I'm not making this up. Here's the press announcement. Nah, they wouldn't do that. All right. That's the news for Monday. I'm sure before the day is over, we'll have another story about OGL 2.0. We cannot let this go. Even a WOTC shill like me, who comes up with reasons like, well, it makes sense on paper. It doesn't mean I like this. Look, I never liked 50. It's not D&D. It's just a mess. So yes. Well, because they'll always defend her. Yeah. She's their leader, just like Satine was our leader until Satine messed up. If they can get Genie D and her fan base back, they might. It depends on the merchandising clause. That whole thing that only they can make money off D&D iconography. Even if they offer Genie D a sweetheart backroom deal that you, Genie D, can still make cosplay and songs about D&D. If that clause is in there, that's her entire fan base being affected by that. Just like the Critical Role fan base will be affected by that no merchandising stuff. I already showed you guys, how many Etsy stores are up. People who make their livelihood off of selling Genie D t-shirts and Critical Role t-shirts and whatever. If those guys suddenly are told, Justin Nagiri, you can't cosplay as D&D characters anymore. T-shirt Steve, you can't make t-shirts about your favorite Critical Role. You can't release any more erotic Critical Role fan fics. Yeah. Yes, they did. I mean, even people who were, well, except for one or two, on the 5e bandwagon, Wizards of the Coast can do no wrong, were like, wait, no. What do you mean? Yes, she was giving credit for it, even though people were saying it way before she did. But I'm not cute. So what I say doesn't matter. Maybe I should have had Steve say it. All right, I'm sure you're tired of listening to the sound of my voice. I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you don't appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you want to support the OGGM going into 2023, remember, if you haven't subscribed to my video yet, subscribe. Help me hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year. We know it won't happen, but 1 billion subs sounds like a good impossible dream. Of course, I have the Patreon, the Ko-Fi, the super chats where you can donate money to me, even though I don't know where that money goes or how to withdraw it. But apparently people have sent me money, so thank you very much. But the best way to support the OGGM adventures is, of course, to buy my merch on Big Geek Emporium and down below in the YouTube studio. That's it. See ya.